Welcome to LawHelp Australia, where we keep you informed with tips and updates. My name is Emily Tung, and we're joined by law student Craig Reynolds and lawyers Susanna and Kristina from Doogue O'Brien George. We're going to be talking about traffic law and some of the common offences and penalties that you might incur. But before we get started, I'd just like to get to know our panel a little better. So, Craig, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm currently a final year student at Trobe, and I'm the Education Director for Law Students Association, which affords me the opportunity to talk to many students and understand their perspective. So that's essentially my goal today, is to pick your brains.
And Susanna, what's your professional experience?
I'm a solicitor at Doogue O'Brien George. I practice exclusively in criminal law. I've been working in criminal law for 5 years now.
Wow. And Kristina?
I'm a partner at Doogue O'Brien George. I've been working exclusively in criminal law for 8 years, and I'm also an accredited criminal law specialist.
Wow, so you're all very experienced. So let's get the show started. Kristina, what are some common traffic offences?
Some of the more common traffic offences include driving whilst authorisation is either suspended or disqualified, and also drink driving charges. They're some of the most common that we see.
Susanna, do you have any others that come to mind?
Yes, I'd agree with Kristina. Also driving carelessly or dangerous driving. Those are other common charges that we see often in relation to minor car accidents.
The car accidents, what happens if police need to attend the scene? Do you have to answer their questions?
You don't ever have to participate in an interview with a police officer. If you don't want to, you always have the right to say no comment to any of their questions. That's just a common right across all aspects of criminal law. But with respect to a car accident, you must stay at the scene until police arrive. Well, let me start again. You must stay at the scene and check on the other person's welfare, exchange your contact details, and if police are going to be called, then you must stay until they arrive.
Kristina, what are some of the things that the police must do at the scene of the car accident before they even try to interview you?
The police will survey the area to firstly ascertain that whether everyone's all right. Then they'll ascertain the details of the drivers, find out their contact details, and then proceed to talk to the parties and try and establish whether there was anyone at fault or who was at fault.
Right. Do they have to caution you in any way before they ask you questions?
If you're an accused person or you're suspected of having committed a crime, then they must caution you prior to asking any questions.
Is that classic caution that we always see on TV?
That's right. People's rights need to be preserved, and they need to know what their rights are before answering police questions.
Great. Susanna, do you have anything to add?
No, not to that question.
Right. So how do you know if you're going to be charged with an offence, a driving offence?
Sometimes you don't know that you're going to be charged. Oftentimes the police will speak to everybody at the scene. More than likely charges of some kind will arise. The police might tell you to expect charges in the mail. They might say that you have to go back to the station and have a record of interview with them there.
Can they charge you on the spot?
They can. They will. If they can say to you, we're going to charge you in relation to this incident, once we have your address, which you must provide them by law, then they will send you the charges in the mail.
What happens in the instance where a police officer says, well, you're not going to be charged, and then something comes in the mail and you've been charged with an offence? Can you bring any action against that?
No. It's the police's decision. Would you agree, Kristina?
I do agree. If an offence has been committed, even if they've said initially that they're not going to charge you, it's certainly open to them once they've determined whether or not they can prove a charge, that they can still send the summons in the mail at a later stage.
It must be very hard for them to decide that on the spot as well. Surely they must consider things.
In some situations it does take a little bit of an investigation to determine what's occurred, but there are some instances where you'll receive a traffic infringement notice on the spot.
Right.
Something to note as well is that the police only have 12 months from the date of offence to charge any traffic-related offences, except for the very serious offences of culpable driving and dangerous driving causing serious injury.
So Susanna, what are some of the most common penalties that you might incur for a traffic offence?
It very much depends on the offence, of course. For people who are appearing at court for the first time, often for a speeding charge or a driving suspended charge, then typically the court will start with a good behaviour bond or a fine.
What's involved in a good behaviour bond?
A good behaviour bond involves you being, for want of a better term, on probation for a period of generally 12 months. During that period of time, if there's no further offending or if you're not charged with any further offence, the charges are dismissed after 12 months. You don't have to return to court after 12 months. There is a record on your traffic history, however.
Right. Are there any other penalties that you might incur?
It depends also on the number of times that a person's been to court for a similar type of offence. The more times a person goes to court, then specific deterrence becomes a relevant factor for the magistrates. And so that means imposing a penalty that is going to deter that person from committing further offences.
What might be, can you give us an example?
For example, if a person is a repeat offender for drink drive related matters, the first time they might receive a fine. The second time, if they think that there is a problem that needs to be addressed, they might be placed on a community corrections order, and in some more serious cases then terms of imprisonment can be imposed.